Hey everyone, what's up? It's Sarah and welcome back to my channel. I have to tell you, I was shocked Tuesday night going to bed. I get an alert from TMZ on my phone and lo and behold, it says that Dimitri Snowden has filed for divorce from Christeline, his third wife. And you know, we've been covering on this channel for the last few weeks all of the allegations that are coming forward against the Snowdens, specifically Christeline's request to have a protective order against both Ashley and Dimitri. That was dismissed. And now, and this was not mentioned on the show, I can't find anything on any socials about it. I've scoured Reddit, maybe I've missed something, that they actually got legally married. And I will be honest, you guys, I started to put together notes so we could talk about this. And y'all, the timeline of their relationships with at least with Christeline and the breakup with Vanessa just don't add up. Like, we're talking about maybe like 4 to 5 years worth of like healing and dating and courting and marrying crammed into literally like less than 2 years. So I'm confused. I'm sure you'll be confused. I call big fraud as far as the timeline goes. So let's just jump right into it and see if we can just sort things out as we go. So I looked and looked and looked and I could not find any like marriage certificate or when their actual like them filing their marriage certificate was. So all we know from the TMZ article that was put out, and of course I'll link it in the description of this video, is that that Dimitri actually was the one who filed for the divorce on May 11th. So that was Tuesday. The article, that's the only like new information in the article. Everything else was more about the accusations that Christine is bringing forth against Dimitri and Ashley, how the judge tossed that due to lack of evidence. And that was it. And some other outlets have also covered it as well, pretty much based off of this TMZ article. And now it's like we wait. But my huge question is, how are they able to marry so quickly? We see that they, with the Merrifields, they've been talking to Roberta, right, for, I think they mentioned on the show, 1.5 years. The way they're going about it is they're going the K-1 visa route, so they have to get divorced. We have no updates as to what's going on with that. I'm going to touch on the types of visas and how long they take in just a second, but it was really shocking to people to hear, just based off of what we know to be true, is that Christeline, for her second visit, arrived in the United States right before Los Angeles went into lockdown, which would have been late March, early April 2020, depending on, I was living in Los Angeles at the time, so I'm trying to remember when things really got kicked into high gear. And I want to say like businesses were shutting down, restaurants were closing. I think all of that was happening like late March. So I think late March, early 2020 would have been when she would have arrived. So between then and now, May 11th, filing for a divorce. So 1 year and 2 months later, we have a marriage and a divorce happen. And what kind of visa was she here on? A lot of people are just assuming that she was here on a K-1 visa. And we don't have confirmation of that. And I don't know if that's accurate. If it is accurate, they either applied for it a long time ago when they were still married to Vanessa, or it's the fastest a K-1 visa has ever been issued in the history of the United States. So there's just a lot of fraud going on as far as what is being put out as a series of events. And we just got a lot to talk about. It just doesn't make any sense. Okay, so let's talk about what we know from the show. And none of this has been contradicted or disproven. So, but it literally could not have happened this way because it doesn't make any sense. So let's just jump into it. So Vanessa announces on her social media, and it was after an article was published in, I believe, People magazine, that she was leaving the Snowdens in April of 2019. So this was following the season finale of season 2 of Seeking Sister Wife, which featured her wedding to Dimitri and then Dimitri's renewal of vows with Ashley. And that was in, so we have to assume that was shot prior, a few months prior probably. So, but the separation announcement, right, happened in April of 2019. The Snowdens say at the beginning of Seeking Sister Wife season 3 that it took 18 months for them to heal. So I thought, and I had to go back and watch. So I thought they took 18 months off from dating. But I guess that doesn't really apply to the Snowdens. Like, they could heal and date probably at the same time. So I have to keep reminding myself of that. So if they took 18 months to heal, and if the separation did happen around April 2019 following the season finale of Seeking Sister Wife. And what they said, just to corroborate this, what they said on the show is that Vanessa went on a birthday trip and texted them that she wasn't interested anymore, and then she came and got her stuff. Well, I Googled, Vanessa's birthday is in April, so that would coincide unless all of that was shot a full year prior, which I don't think it was. But anyways, if someone has some tea on that, definitely leave a comment and let us know. So going off the assumption that the breakup occurred in April of 2019, they say they took 18 months to heal. That would put us around October of 2020. And that just has to be fraud. Because they said that they had been talking to Christeline for 5 months in episode 1 of season 3. And then they sneak her in right before lockdown, which had to have been March or April of 2020. So just these numbers just don't make sense. Even if, and I'm assuming they were, because one of the speculations as to why Vanessa might have left was that Dimitri wanted to court a third sister wife soon after marrying her, and that she wasn't, that hurt her or whatever. So they could have very well been talking to Christeline while they were married to Vanessa. But this still, if the breakup happened, they took time to heal and they were talking, then that puts us at the end of 2020, and it just doesn't make any sense. Now let's talk about the types of visas. A K-1 visa on average, just from Googling, and this is like the first thing that comes up on Google, it says it takes between 6 to 9 months, 7 months on average for U.S. citizenship and or USCIS, U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, to process an application for a K-1 visa, and an additional 4 to 6 weeks for the agency to send an interview request to the nearest U.S. embassy or consulate. This is not a quick process by any means. They would have had to have been courting or talking to Christeline for much longer than is portrayed on the show, or even out of their own mouths. They would have had to have applied for a K-1 visa for her in like July or August of 2019, or even earlier, because actually, yeah, it would have probably like May, June 2019, because then it takes another 4 to 6 weeks after they process the paperwork for them to get you an appointment. So, and in order to get the appointment, you have to like show proof of relationship and all that jazz. And then you know, having like a wife, even though you're not legally married, but like, so let's say like a domestic partner and like 3 whole ass kids would probably raise huge red flags, as this is probably not a valid marriage. I don't know how they would have gotten around it. A lot of us are speculating how the Merrifields are thinking they're gonna get around it. Having Danielle having the same mailing address as Garrick. So it just like, how does one get around being in a plural, like being in a plural relationship is fine, but as far as like immigration is concerned, I don't think that they're going to be approving that. I don't know. So if she was on a K-1 visa, if she was on a K-1 visa, they either applied for it almost a full year ago, in March of 2020, like prior to March 2020. So probably around the time that they were breaking up with Vanessa, they would have been applying for this. And what they say on the show is that they took 18 months to heal after the divorce. So that doesn't really make sense. Or maybe Dimitri knows someone to fast track the paperwork. I don't know. So then there's a tourist visa. Now, there are some countries that have a visa waiver program where all you need to do is show your passport and you're good to come to the United States for up to 90 days at a time. We see like, because one of the countries is the Netherlands, and another country is the United Kingdom that is in that program. And so we see like Tom and Jesse come to the United States and stay for extended periods of time. They don't need to get any kind of like residency because they can just come over on that visa waiver program. South Africa is not part of that. So she would have to obtain some sort of visa to come over here. A tourist visa or a, what is it called? A B2 visitor, B1 or B2 visitor visa can take anywhere from like a couple weeks to a couple months to process and get to you. So I don't know. I'm just inclined to think that she probably came over, and it's also a lot less. There's no like trying to validate if you're in a like or if you're in a valid relationship or what have you. It's just like, you want to come see the Walk of Fame? Cool. Come on over. You have 90 days. Here is the important thing that we have to consider. Me personally, until I see like confirmation that she was actually here on a K-1 visa, which she absolutely may have, and I could totally eat my words, I'm more inclined to believe that she came over on a tourist visa. You can come over on a tourist visa, I Googled it, and get married. There's no law prohibiting that. However, here's the thing. Using a B2 visitor visa to enter the US with the intention of getting married and applying for a green card is a form of visa fraud. The visitor visa is a non-immigrant visa. So one of the things, I think we heard this with Michael or Biniam, I can't remember. We've heard this happen a couple times with why fiancés are denied visitor visas, is because you can't be engaged to a citizen and come over and visit, because the whole thing is with a tourist visa is that you have no intention of staying. You intend to leave and go back home. So this form of visa fraud can result in the immigrant being placed in removal proceedings from the US rather than being granted a green card. So I just have so many questions. Learning that they did in fact have a legal marriage just opens up so many questions. Originally, I was assuming that in the police report, she was, purporting him to be her husband, because that just made more sense to put on paperwork, made it easy, made it like you didn't have to explain the whole polygamy thing. But then she does go into and explain that. So, and he did legally marry her. So he obviously legally married her because to keep her in the United States. I don't know if they thought that they had a chance with filing an adjustment of status, or if we were totally frauded this whole time and they actually have had a much longer relationship. I think more than anything, just things are not adding up as far as the timeline goes. The relationship with Vanessa was, I think, between 2017 and 2019 or maybe even less period of time. The wedding for sure happened in some point in 2019. In order for them to have 18 months of healing, applying for, all of that would be having to happen at the same time in order for any of this to make sense. And even then, it doesn't really make sense, because how would they get approved for a K-1 visa when they could turn on a show? Go to Dimitri promotes this show on his website. So any immigration officer could go there and say, he's in a whole ass other relationship. What? Anyways, you guys, let me know what you think. As soon as we get more information, who knows, was there a prenup? How long were they married? Could Dimitri make a play for an annulment? And because I think if you're married for less than a certain period of time, you can claim like fraud and junk like that. I don't know. So I will keep you guys posted. Let me know your thoughts. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Reality Squad. Take care of yourselves. Have a good day. Much love, you guys. Bye-bye.